Federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. That was a big deal. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Nobody thought that was possible, right? I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. So horrible what's happening in the last 6 weeks. Think of it. You go back 3 months, 4 months, but go back 3 years. This is an impossible. This would have never happened. What happened, the attack on Israel would have never happened. Iran was broke under the Trump administration. They were broke because I wouldn't allow any country to buy oil. China, I wouldn't allow them. I said to President Xi, if you buy oil, you're not going to do business in the United States, and I'm going to tariff you at 100%. He said, like you said, we're not doing any business with Iran. Same thing with many countries, France, every country. I said any country, India was a big one, they were a big buyer. Any country that does business with Iran is not going to do any business with the United States, and any goods that you do send in, we're going to tariff you at 100%. So they did virtually no sales of oil, and they were broke. They were broke, and they had no money for Hamas, and they had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these many terrorist organizations. Now they're very rich because Biden lifted all of that stuff off. We would have had a deal. If the election weren't rigged, we would have had a deal with Iran within the first week I was back in office. They were ready to make a deal. They were broke. And a Democrat politician last week said on, I think, Deface the Nation, a show called Deface, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. You know, it's sometimes referred to as Face the Nation. I like Deface the Nation better. But it was on that. Another one was on Meet the Press. I call that one Meet the Fake Press. But they said, well, I will admit one thing. Under President Trump, Iran was broke. Because Iran is the problem, because they have all the money. So not only did we give them $6 billion for 5 people, hostages, or whatever you want to call them, that shouldn't have been there, by the way. They shouldn't have been there. But we gave them $6 billion. Think of that. And then we gave them $10 billion for electricity going to Iraq. I don't know if you know about that, but they sold electricity to Iraq, and we gave them 10. So we gave them 16. And everyone says, oh, that's so much. And that's peanuts. We gave them $250 billion in the selling of oil. They're selling millions and millions of barrels of oil to China, to India, to all these countries that weren't buying under the Trump administration, took off all of the sanctions and all of the verbal thrashings that I'd give these people. I said, if you want to do that, you're not going to do any more business in the United States where they make a lot of money. So we had it done. It was a done deal. And then we had the bad results with the election. Horrible, horrible results. What a different country when you think about it. I'm just saying up here, talking to you, just like I've got 3 people in the room. You know, what a terrible thing has happened to our country over an election. Over an election. Think of our country would have been, we would have had no inflation. We wouldn't have had the surrender in Afghanistan, which was probably the worst and most embarrassing day in the history of this country that the fake news doesn't talk about. They never talk about it anymore because they're really bad. They're fake. It's not what they say, it's what they don't say, because what they don't tell you is far worse than what they tell you. But we would have had a much different country. We would have continued to have the greatest economy ever. But we're going to bring it back. I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. That was one of the biggest things I did for Israel, but nothing happened with it because they didn't, when they withdrew, you're supposed to make a deal. They were broke, they withdrew, you were supposed to make a deal. And with the historic Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. We're going to have peace in the Middle East. So for 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. None of this stuff would have happened. And I kept the entire world safe. And we will again as the 47th President of the United States. We'll do it again.